I'm back with Marcellus Baz from the Nottingham School of Boxing, here to talk about a fighter he knows very, very well and who's chalked up another professional win tonight, Amari Grant.
8 wins, 8 fights, Amari Grant. Very, very excited about this kid. We were here not long ago when he last fought, and he looked tired, it was messy, you know, and a lot of people had question marks over Amari.
Let's talk about one of the fights we've not yet seen this evening. Echo Esserman versus Tyrone Nurse, headline fight on the card. What are your hopes, your expectations?
I think that it's a risk for Echo to be jumping that much because Tyrone's coming with a lot of experience. It's been around the block.
Well, let's hear from the man himself, Echo Esserman, laying his English title on the line tonight to fight experienced, tough, savvy boxer Tyrone Nurse. Win, and he could make the step and open a pathway to more big, big fights.
Hello, you join us here at St Mary's Church in the Lace Market for a special service of commemoration. You can see behind me that people are taking their seats for this service. I'm Owen Shipton, and today is VJ, or Victory Over Japan Day, the 75th anniversary of Japan's surrender in the Second World War and the end of that conflict. There's a small congregation here today, all social distancing, all wearing masks and all paying their respects to the many millions of people who died in this conflict. It's not the first event of its kind in the county today though. At 11 this morning there was a special service at which wreaths were laid at the War Memorial on Victoria Embankment.
Paralympic swimming champion Ollie Hind has had a year full of turmoil and emotion. 3 times he's had to change the classification he swims in. That means potentially having to race against less impaired athletes. But despite the drama, the heartbreak, he's pushing onwards. It is always a pleasure to have Ollie on Notts TV. Ollie, quite the year.
Yeah, it's been very eventful to say the least. So at the beginning of the year I went through a reclassification period which all the athletes were going through. Which I presumed would have just been a routine. But, you know, to my surprise, World Paraswimming decided that they wanted me to swim in the category above.
You're considering your options, but is one of them potentially stepping out of the pool and stopping competing?
I wouldn't like it to come to that, to be honest, but, you know, I don't really know, to be honest.
A mum from Clifton who's been catching online predators for more than a year by setting up fake social media profiles has turned her attentions to Facebook, where she says an even bigger problem is festering. Jo Stubbs is part of Facebook Hunters, which is tracking down and reporting people who share indecent images of children online. Jo, thanks for joining us. I'm wondering if you can give me some idea of the scale of the problem.
It's immeasurable. It's absolutely massive. There's thousands and thousands of pages, an uncountable amount of people that are involved in all of this.
It's worth putting Facebook's point of view across here. We did contact them. They say they've got a zero tolerance for child exploitation on Facebook. They say that this illegal behaviour is rare on the platform. When they do find it, they immediately remove it and they report it to relevant law enforcement agencies. They also say they work with safety experts around the world. You must come into contact with some fairly horrible stuff that we don't even particularly want to talk about in detail on the television at this time of day. I'm wondering what impact that has on you, what toll that takes on you.
I've just learnt to compartmentalise everything.
If Ilkeston Town win the league and the fans are watching and Alan Hardy sits there like this.
There's no disrespect amongst Ilkeston Town fans.
It's like this, you know, the debate we always end up having about players not celebrating against their former clubs. Sometimes it's a natural reaction, I would say.
One of the areas it seems you've chosen to focus on this evening is Broxtowe. It's an area that, depending on your position, stands to benefit or suffer from the arrival of the high-speed 2 rail route. Lots of people there feel there are economic benefits to the route. Others can't quite stomach the environmental concerns, yet more aren't really convinced it's worthwhile. You voted against the construction of the HS2 rail link from London to Birmingham in 2016. You've since been absent for 2 votes on HS2. How do you weigh up the arguments for an area like Broxtowe, and at heart, are you for or against HS2?
Look, I'm for high-speed rail. I think we need more infrastructure.
The East Midlands currently has the lowest transport spending per head of anywhere in the country. People feel shortchanged here. Apart from HS2, what would you do to better connect our region to the rest of Britain?
buses and local services and trains.
Labour promising to redistribute the centre of power a little bit, shake things up, move funding, move decision-making powers out of the South East to places like the Midlands and like the North. What would you do to make sure an area like Nottinghamshire has more of a say in the corridors of power?
I do think that devolution is important, and I want to see devolution to towns, to cities.
I'd like to ask as well about job losses, people leaving their jobs too. It's a big story in the news today. Here in Gedling, there are 1,865 more people claiming out-of-work benefits than there were in March. We've heard about big employers in the region, I'm thinking specifically of Boots and Rolls-Royce, cutting jobs too. How serious are the problems in terms of the labour market for an area like Nottinghamshire?
Warning lights are going off across the entire economy.
Having left Labour, it seems you're no longer going to be an MP, you must be in a position to say things that you weren't once in a position to say, and I wonder if I asked you to let loose on the state of British politics, what you would say.
To be fair, I have been pretty frank about the state of particularly the Labour Party for the last few years. It's one of the reasons that I was being attacked in my local party.
In your opinion, does Jeremy Corbyn need to leave the Labour Party, need to no longer be leader?
What I found was interesting is right up until 9:59 p.m, they were all saying, "Oh, Jeremy Corbyn" was the song. After 10:01 and the exit poll, people were saying, "Oh, what a bad idea it was having Corbyn in charge of the Labour Party." Too late.
One of the big results in Nottinghamshire was in Ashfield, where the Ashfield Independents demolished all opposition. There has been a national trend towards votes for independent candidates. They've won more than 250 seats. The Ashfield Independents won 30 of the 35 available seats, with Labour winning 2, the Conservatives 3, after that landslide. I spoke to the party's leader, Jason Zadrozny.
Obviously, I'm delighted. You couldn't be anything else but absolutely over the moon, winning 30 out of 35 seats.
Hello and welcome to a very special Team Talk. I'm Owen Shipton, standing in for Ian Chambers. Ian's taken the route chosen by many over-the-hill frontmen and gone to China. He'll be back next week. I'm joined by an absolutely stellar panel. Alongside me is former Notts County boss and striker Charlie McParland, and we've got 2 Team Talk debutantes alongside me this evening. Former midfielder who spent 2 seasons at Notts County in the 90s and is now the first team coach of England under 19s. It's Mark Robson. And if that wasn't enough, I'm also joined by another former midfielder who spent 3 seasons at Meadow Lane in the 80s and is now the head coach of England's under 20s. It's Keith Downer.
A little bit of fight and talk from the British side there, but despite that competitiveness, the organisers of the games are trying to encourage you not to lose track of the real message behind this event, which is one of remembrance. Major General Mitch Mitchell is the chairman of the Army Football Association. It's wonderful to be speaking to him now. Mitch, that message, sum it up for me.
I think probably, as you always have to have as a soundbite, it's 3 R's. Remembrance. To remember the sacrifice of those who went before.
I'm being told to relax, but I'm playing against Britain's best here.
Yes,
and it's
nice.
intense.
If I pass one of you the microphone, then the other one can show me something. What are you going to be telling me?
Well, I'm going to show you our most iconic trick, which is our ball spin. You know, if you hold your finger up right here, just like that now. I tell kids all the time, the key to this trick is a good smile, all right? So you got to make sure you smile.
I think it's more of a grimace. I'm worried it's going to fly into somebody's face.
There you go.
After Dunkirk, Radford and Teversal all booked their place in the semi-finals, the pressure was on the highest ranked team in the competition, Basford United, to follow suit. They'd gone on, frankly, a sensational run this season, going 27 games unbeaten. Their opponents in the quarter-finals, Kimberley Miners Welfare. Danielle Hall's got all the action, and this lady's got a really big football rattle.